Good afternoon. Today we're going to be talking about Matthew 23, and it's funny how when I was in Bible college, my Bible college instructor had mentioned how pastors don't usually talk about Matthew chapter 23, but yet this will be my third podcast that I mentioned it. Um, I know one was in God is Too Nice, which the title Um, yeah, the title I did. I mean, I think it had what two, maybe three views, but and I think it was another one that I think I referenced it, but but yeah, no, I'm not the cartoon character. I think you saw it in Tom and Jerry, where somebody was, or maybe it was like a Looney Tunes episode, or probably maybe several, where one of the characters was beating like someone like beating another one of the characters down with a baseball bat. Um, we looked at that as entertainment, and I mean I don't know that anybody. I don't know too many people who actually thought that was a good idea, but no, we're not doing that, and I'm not trying to beat anybody about the head with the Bible either. Even though, in a spiritual sense, I probably am because like whenever you teach the Bible, when it's taught correctly, it does convict you. It does make I mean it does make you feel uncomfortable um, by design, so that way we can continue to grow because God wants us to continue to grow in our faith. It's I'm a firm believer of either you're growing or you're dying, and honestly, rather be growing in our faith in Christ than dying because it's the results of dying is not good even in the spiritual sense. So it's best to continue to grow. But I have a different different set of like things that God showed me through this week. So we'll get into that. And so without further ado, let's get started. Then spoke Jesus to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But don't do after their works, for they say and don't do. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. But all their works they do for to be seen by men. They make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments, and love the uppermost rooms at feasts, and the chief seats in the synagogues, and greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But don't be called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ, and all you are brethren. And don't call men your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. Neither be called masters, for one is your master, even Christ. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. But woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites! For you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For you neither go in yourselves, nor suffer you them that are entering to go in. Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites! For you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Therefore you shall receive the greater damnation. Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites! For you compass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, you make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. Woe unto you, you blind guides, which say, Whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing, but whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. You fools and blind, for what is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold? And whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing, but whosoever swears by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. You fools and blind, for what is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifies the gift? Whoso therefore shall swear by the altar swears by it, and by all things thereon. And whoso shall swear by the temple swears by it, and by him that dwells therein. And he that shall swear by heaven swears by the throne of God, and by him that sits thereon. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought you to have done, and not to leave the other undone. You blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess. You blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, and the outside of them may be clean also. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness. Even so you also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within you are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! Because you build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous, and say, If we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore you be witnesses unto yourselves, that you are the children of them which killed the prophets. Fill you up then the measure of your fathers. You serpents, you generation of vipers, how can you escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them you shall kill and crucify, and some of them shall you scourge in your synagogues, and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias son of Berechiah, who you slew between the temple and the altar. Truly I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you that kill the prophets and stones them which are sent unto thee. How often would I have gathered your children together, even as a hen gathered her chicks under her wings, and you would not let me. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. For I say unto you, you shall not see me here henceforth, till you shall say, Blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord. Okay, so get a drink before I get into this, because just need as kind of a side note. I got sick a couple weeks ago because work's been on furlough, and one thing I found out about that is about me, as far as I drink a lot of water at work, but up until I got sick, um like um I wasn't drinking very much water at home, and what happens with that is whenever you're dry heaving, I mean, yeah, 'cause when you're dehydrated, you dry heave. It's like, ew, gross. Yeah, it is. But I could have probably kicked everything that was not good in my system out with one Ralph. Oh no, you're too graphic, Casey. Uh, but but yeah, because I hadn't had enough water in my system, it took several, and I wasn't feeling good for even longer than I otherwise would have been. So another important reason to stay to drink drink lots of water is even when you're not feeling good, you can kick it out quicker if you stay hydrated. But and so I've been staying I've been drinking a lot more water at home recently because of that. So I still drink my pop, my for taste, because water has no taste, but is better for you than anything else. But yeah, so that's a story on that. But no, there's a line from a song, "I'd Rather See a Sermon" by Bruce Carroll. It says, "I never was much for religion. Too many double standard people let me down." And so people people within leadership within churches, they hold authoritative established position of interpreting and touching Mosaic law, Torah, in the Jewish synagogues. Those are the ones that sit in Moses' seat. Politicians, business leaders, and church leaders all tell you to do a standard, but don't practice what they tell you to do a lot of times. However, there is no organization where this is more detrimental than in the church. Churches are held to a higher standard than work leaders and politicians because they are assumed to be followers of Christ. Don't follow your example for no, 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 whoops. Don't follow their example, for they don't lead by example. The worst part isn't not leading by example, but many you can't even hold accountable. Accountable is a beautiful thing, but if leaders bristle at accountability, that is a horrible example to follow. They want the power without responsibility. When this is the case, it creates a hostile environment. As opposed to an iron sharpens iron environment that the Bible advocates for, it becomes a hierarchy where the congregation are held accountable, but the leaders cannot be. Actions done for the approval and manipulation. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll go into that in a little bit, or actually here in a minute. Um, Particularly when it comes to they the people that they want to to coerce to believe a certain a way about them. They'll act certain act um, very well around, but the people that they don't really care, they act a different way. I'll explain that here in a second. Doing good for others' approval is dangerous enough. We are taught actions speak louder than words, but Christ's standard is doing good not to be noticed by men. But the things God sees done in secret will be rewarded openly. The danger is when church leaders use the good they do openly for approval of some, while showing their true colors to others. When those others try to hold them accountable for doing what's right, those who um, you know, the, those who are doing good by turn on the ones that are holding the leaders accountable. So division is created based on two different realities. Titles lead to ego. Ego leads to complacency. God uses the foolish things of the world to confound or frustrate the wise. The less you think you know, the harder you are going to work to learn it. And just I'll go ahead and keep going on on my notes. Don't go into kingdom of heaven, neither allow others to go in. Those who seek after Christ, are condemned a lot of times through legalism. This is our tradition, and so we're like we follow the tradition rather than what Christ says is right. And I know I did talk about that concept briefly in one of my earlier podcasts, where not like there's not a church in there's not a church in the world that doesn't hold to some tradition. So they don't. So there's not a church that doesn't have something that is that is wrong in the eyes of God. And let's see. Everyone's walk with Christ is going to look a little different as they are running different races. They have different calls, and this is important because I was talking with a friend of mine and how um, churches are really bad at this. Like they hold to this is a way something has to be done. This is a way to walk with God has to be done. They really don't. They don't care about what a person's story is, what they're going through. Like they kind of have a rigid viewpoint as far as this is just the way it has to be done. But people could in their stories could be or in their walk can be walking things a little bit different because they've got different scenarios that are coming into play, which is making it difficult to do things completely exactly the way that you're supposed to do it by the book. But I mean, again, because the Lord looks at the heart, even if something doesn't look perfect, like if God gives grace, so that way is as you're as you're adjusting through life, you're able to get like steer the ship right, right, yeah, right, and keep doing what God tells you to do. But legalism says if the walk doesn't look a certain way, you're not walking with Christ. Our job as Christians is to guide, not micromanage for not doing things our way. There is one way to heaven, and that's through Jesus Christ. But there's different ways to walk out our faith. You don't take care of the elderly among you, and this is something that there's a verse in Timothy that that the purest phase is taking care of the elders and those who are in those who are in need. But but what ends up happening a lot of times, they take advantage of the white of back up. Tongue gets tied. That's a regular thing for me. Try to talk faster than I'm thinking, or actually, usually my brain thinks faster than I talk. But so sometimes I have to slow it down. But anyway, with all that said, that's all, folks. Take advantage of the widow. They prey upon sexually, financially, or any way that uses power to take advantage of a situation. It's not okay to prey upon the weak because of positions of power. Church leaders have an expectation to live honorably, to not leave weak or spiritually in bad shape, as they will follow your example. Higher value on tithing than godly judgment, mercy, and faithfulness. Godly character is more important than finances. Finances keep lights on and bills paid. Godly character makes a more lasting impact on everyone. Heart over appearance. And now I want to kind of dwell a little bit on this because particularly in today's day and age. And I've talked about this with with my youngest sister several times. And she has a better understanding, being a woman, of why this is, as far as like why they why that women that women can go from the extreme of being a rebel to being a devout follower of Christ, and being able to to handle both these extremes seemingly flawlessly. But one thing that churches tend to do nowadays is put these converted Christian women in positions of leadership. And like the greatest example right now is Nala, who used to be a OnlyFans model. Like, she converted to Christianity, and and then then now is teaching Bible studies and whatever. Which I'm not opposed to that, but one thing about teaching Bible study, and one thing about being in leadership within a church, is when you have a history of living worldly, and then you're put into a position of leadership. That never turns out very well, because there are expectations in what First Timothy of what an elder should look like, as far as not a novice, not guilty of filthy lucre. It's First Timothy chapter 3, I believe it is. And but one thing about it is, if you're not living honorably at the start, once trust is betrayed, you have got to earn your trust back. And you can't earn trust back by being put back in the same position that you were put in. Now, of course, this works obviously both ways. Like, either people who legitimately did sin versus people that didn't. People that didn't shouldn't have to, but yeah, people who legit did sin, and it caused them to get removed from leadership, they should not be placed back in the same position. Now, there may be people who disagree, and that's fine, but I just think that ministry would tend to work better if that was the way things were operated. Betrayal of trust means you got to earn your trust back by being faithful, by continuing to show change of attitude, change of behavior. But without without that, they shouldn't be put in the leadership position, because more they are more the leader, they are exalted as a leader, the harder the fall of people who are not spiritually as strong, and they'll be held accountable for that. But where was I? Yeah, that's what I said. Oh yeah, here we go. Also, yeah, don't sweat the little things. Now, little sins isn't what Christ is talking about. But now, little things are just okay, person calls you a name, or or they, you guys have a disagreement. That's really a little thing. It's one of those things, you just work it out and move on, because the reality of it is, with any with any person you interact with, you're going to have disagreements, because nobody thinks the same. Nobody. We have all of us have different DNAs, so our thought processes are not the same. So it's one of those things that we've we've got to learn to not sweat the little things. Oh yeah, and the last thing I want to say, like for today, is this statement. It's probably what a half a page, but power is fleeting. It often is a cover for lack of accountability. God's word is 100% true 100% of the time. With God, you cannot avoid accountability. If you don't deal with your sin in private, it will extend to your immediate family. If it's not dealt with your immediate family, then it'll extend to the church family. If it's not dealt with there, then it will become a legal issue and your sin will find you out. And that is something. It's like it's very very true in the Bible. It's like David, like David had instances, and I am sure other biblical um, leaders had the same thing where they didn't deal with their sins in private, and so their sin found them out. So nothing gets by God. You can try. You have to get up. Well, actually, no. No matter how much you get up to try to outsmart God, you cannot outsmart God. He's a goalie that that's like you're you can take a million shots on and he'll get a million saves. so so that is it for this week. You guys be blessed. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you again next week. All right. Bye.